A lot of budding sommeliers, they see the glamorous aspect, right? The wining and dining, the hospitality, sitting there being in from the guests, building your VIPs and things like that. And they like that. But it's just like, no, you got to do the grind. Come on. You got to do some cellar maintenance, cellar work, inventory, list maintenance.
Thank you for listening to Serves You Right. Today, I get a chance to sit down and talk to Rina Bussell, the advanced som out of Vegas. Me and Rina crossed paths when she was on the show In Poor Taste in Las Vegas. I really enjoyed talking to her. It's always nice to see someone in the wine sphere that isn't overly romantic about it. Yes, wine is fun, and yes, there's a lot of good things about learning about wine, being a som, but there is also a lot of suffering. And those of you listening who are in the business know what I'm talking about: the polishing, the bottles, the inventory, the drudgery, and everything in between. So me and her get to discuss a little bit about her history and my history, and it was just a fantastic conversation. I'm a big fan, and I hope you end up following her and go check out her Instagram, Tequila Neat. And without any further ado, my name is Andrew. We're talking to Rina, and this is Serves You Right. All right, and before I forget, in 2026, we are going to 2 episodes every week. That is 2 episodes, one every Tuesday and one every Thursday, backed by popular demand. So thank you, everyone, for listening to the show, supporting us, and I've listened to your comments and got to give the people what they want. All right, let's do it. Rina, thanks for coming on Serves You Right. Pleasure to talk to you today.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
So a large portion of my audience is service industry. We've got people of all types. One thing I thought we could open up with, I've worked as a som in the past. You currently are running a great program. How does one go about becoming a som? Now, that's probably a pretty broad topic. Take that wherever you will, and I'll help you dig in there.
I think the best way to go about it is really using your community. I think that's the one thing that hasn't changed. When I first got into being a sommelier, there wasn't really a lot of resources. I think there has come to be a lot more resources online and study groups and things like that. But the one thing that remains is that, you should reach out to your community. And just like how someone becomes a bartender, it's the same kind of idea with being a sommelier. You gain that experience on the floor. So you can start off in whatever position in a restaurant, but then once you start getting into that wine side, you just start building that experience on the floor.
Yeah, and I do like that. You've got to start somewhere, and having someone that you can turn to and ask questions is invaluable. Like, you need someone to help you. So you, if I remember correctly, you started off in an Italian place, right?
I did.
Yeah, so I saw that and I was really happy because I did the same thing in my wine journey. Was that overwhelming? Because Italy is such a big subject.
It is, but you mean initially like working in an Italian restaurant when I first was starting out, or just
in general? Yeah, take it however it kind of strikes you.
Because the restaurant that I started off in, it wasn't overwhelming at all because it was a very tiny list and it was just all your kind of your basic hits. Like there wasn't anything on the list that was.
It's like Pinot Grigio and Chianti, so it's an Italian restaurant sort of thing.
Yeah, like one of our favorites was the Citra Montepulciano, which was in the Magnum bottle, and it was like $4 at the grocery store.
Yes.
But it still was a segue into the fine dining experience that I gained later on, just because that still in itself, it was that hole in the wall Italian restaurant, but that vibe, that hospitality, the wining and dining aspect was still there, very much so. That I really love about Italian hospitality specifically. So, and then as time went on, I think, this is now my 3rd Italian restaurant that I've worked at. And I have to say, Italian, I like working with Italian food. I think that specific hospitality that kind of comes along with it, the sense of family that comes along with it is my favorite. So as far as like the wine aspect is concerned,
I only ask because Italy is notorious for having just thousands of indigenous grapes that no one knows the name of the grape in the next village because it's all Trebbiano, but it's Trebbiano to XYZ, and they don't even know what it is.
Let's call it Trebbiano.
Yes, some of the reps are coming in and telling you blends that you are thinking through your note cards, and you're thinking, "I don't think that's a legal blend even," like,
Yeah.
it's a wild, wild west out there.
It is. I don't know if I would necessarily call it overwhelming. I think it's exciting because there's limit to the grape varieties and the styles of wine and the producers. There's always something new that is coming in that you haven't heard of. And I think probably one of my favorite experiences as far as working with Italian wine was when I was working at this place called Altura up in Seattle. It was a tiny restaurant and we had very limited space. So I had to, and our menu changed weekly. And so I had to be on top of tastings all the time. I was tasting 3 times a week. And that was exciting because, yeah, then I had an opportunity to taste these wines on a regular basis, obscure producers, great varieties, things like that. And yeah, so it made it feel very, very fresh. And so I think I thrived on that constant
Evolution, that
rotation.
constant,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
testing yourself kind of. Yeah, that's cool.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah. No. I think that that might be a really great kind of like Occam's razor of whether or not you should consider going into the somming world if you're working hospitality. If you
Hmm.
see a section of the world, say it's Italy or Germany, and you see all these laws and all this confusing, just like mismatch, all sorts of things, I think a lot of people's natural tendencies is to get overwhelmed. Whereas,
Hmm.
like me and you, it's like, oh, that's exciting. You're like, I can actually dig in there. I could do something here. This is cool. Yeah,
Hmm.
if you don't feel that spark, it may not be for you because it is. There's a lot to
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, yeah, it just comes also with experience because the lists that I've worked with from at this point are seem to me very, very manageable. But to the untrained eye or someone who's just getting into it, I remember feeling so overwhelmed. I'm never going to be able to learn all these things, all these producers, and being like, how do I make sense of this producer to this producer and this vintage to that? How am I going to be able to like Rolodex this in my mind, and now it's just kind of like second nature. I'm just like, oh, I know this producer. Oh, okay, and then I
Is
can
every
intuit from
village
this.
in Burgundy three names pushed together? What is this? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I've had people ask me, and I've actually compared it to like playing chess. And when you start, it looks like an overwhelmingly complex system. You have to remember where parts move. Whereas as you progress, you start seeing like fields of influence, like different ideas, different attacks, and
Right.
you don't have to get lost in the weeds. You have to start to see the forest instead of just all the trees.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm always a proponent of really not getting too lost in the details with people and the specifics and how you are supposed to. So like for instance, wine tasting, people are like, "Oh, should I be tasting here?" It's like, no, I really want you to start understanding why a wine tastes the way that it does. Once you understand why the wine tastes the way it does, because of the climate, because of the soil types, so on and so forth, then wine analysis is becomes very easy because you're like, okay, this is why it has high acid, this is why it has structure, this is why it has this. So even when you're tasting something brand new, a grape variety that you never had before, you can start filling in the boxes. Oh, this tastes like this because it's from a warmer climate, or so on and so forth. Or what grouping does this go into? Oh, this tastes more like a Pinot Noir or Grenache.
Yeah. What family does this live in? Like, yeah,
Mhm,
I like
mhm.
that. I like that. And that's great. And I hope we could dig into that a little bit because that is something I was hoping to ask you about. If I'm a beginning taster, what are some tips, tricks, or just general advice that you'd have to how can I improve my tasting?
Tasting a lot.
Yeah.
Tasting a lot and tasting
Check. I'm
systematically.
in. Yes.
I think tasting systematically would be my first recommendation is when you taste wine, always analyze it the exact same way every single time, from
Which is
sight to
huge.
nose
Yes.
to palate to initial conclusion and conclusion. Like always taste in that same order because then you can start breaking down the wine just more effectively, and it becomes second nature to you because you're always doing it that way.
Mhm. No, and that does point to something that I tell a lot of my waiters and just the advice I give. You'd be surprised at how easy it is to convince yourself you're tasting something until you actually go through the process of blind tasting, have an off day, and you say like, "Oh, I thought it was a Chardonnay and it's a Sauvignon Blanc," and oh my god. You
Hmm.
doubt your whole existence just right there.
Yeah.
If you're not systematic about looking element by element and you just smell and think, I think this is this, you can very easily wind yourself up in just a way different path.
Yeah. And, like another recommendation I would have is to taste with different types of people and then definitely taste with winemakers.
Oh, yeah, that's smart.
Tasting with winemakers is probably one of the most eye opening aspects of wine analysis because then you really get another sense of why does a wine taste this way. Then you can ask them all these things, like what about this? What about that? Like how do you manage this? You're like why does it, you know, piercing present like that, and they could be like, oh, in this vintage, and then you could start connecting the dots because then you can start seeing the pattern. Oh, this vineyard also tastes like this, and then the questions to ask, like, did they use this certain type of pruning method?
Sure, sure. And they're right there too, so that's
Hmm.
perfect. Is
Hmm.
there a favorite winemaker you've ever tasted with? Funny story or someone that blew you away you weren't expecting?
Let's see. I mean, I think the ultimate winemaker that I would always say is Frederick Penoitis of Ruinart, who just
Which
recently passed.
No, I didn't know that. Oh my
Yeah, he
god.
passed. He passed doing what he loved, though. I mean, he was a big free diver, and so he
Oh my
unfortunately
god. Yeah, he was not an
it
old
was
man.
a no, no, not at all, not
Jeez.
by any means. Very, very youthful. I would say he probably is hands down my favorite and best winemaker that I've had a chance to taste with
Yeah. No,
face to face.
that's funny. The world of wine is so small. And me, I'm a couple states over, and I've had the pleasure of tasting with him too. He's a trip.
Hmm.
He used to do these blind tasting rune art challenges. Did you ever participate in any of those?
I won that. That's how I met
You did?
him.
Wow! No way! Yeah. Wait,
Yeah,
what year did you do it?
I'm 16.
Okay, that was before I participated. Okay, I was
Hmm.
in like 2022. So they said it could be anything at all, and they gave us straight flight of Chardonnays, but all from different spots. And I
Hmm.
remember tasting through it. I remember when I got to the third one, I was like, "Wait, these can't all be Chardonnays." And then I tasted the fourth one. I was like, "Wait a second. I think they're trying to trick us, or I'm like losing my mind." But yeah, no, that's oh, man. I'm so sad. I'm gonna have to deal with that later. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. No, I not saying that there's any other winemakers. I mean, there have been. I have a lot of respect for like Rene Barbier. I have a lot of respect for him. I have Denise Durant, who was the winemaker for Clos Glisse in Pomerol. I mean, are also some of my favorites that I've come across and stuff like that. But I loved how international Frederick was. How he just had a good worldview on wine and also just like how intelligently and just everything that he would explain, he really I learned a lot from him for
Yeah.
sure.
And I guess, I mean, if you are going to be the head of a well known champagne brand, you have to kind of have an international outlook because champagne is just everywhere. And then if you're going to be one of
Hmm.
the oldest ones, like you gotta, like you gotta really hold that down. And wow, he did too. I don't.
Don't fault me for how I pronounce his last name. I never
Oh no.
get his last
The
name
funny
right.
thing is, the second you started saying it, I was like, I know who she's talking about, and I'm so glad she said it and not me, because I mean, he's got like three umlauts in there. Like, there's no way an American can pronounce that. Could you tell us a little bit? You mentioned Seattle quickly. If from my understanding of what I read about you, that's where you got all three of your Psalm certifications. Is that correct?
Hmm.
And you got them
Yeah.
all in the first try, is what I saw.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like that, how that all happened?
So I actually, when I first started my wine program, I started completely blindly. I just Google searched sommelier certifications, and the first thing that popped up was the International Sommelier Guild, which is not as well known or prestigious in the United States. I think it's like more popular in Canada and stuff like that. But so The great thing about it was that it had an actual class format and curriculum. So I went through that, and I had gotten my diploma through there prior to me going into the Court of Master Sommeliers. And I had an amazing mentor in the program who was teaching, Rob Ord. And he was really, really instrumental in getting me on this more focused path of being a sommelier. So he recommended to me, hey, you should go into the Court of Master Sommeliers. And so I already had a good study program and fledgling knowledge of wine once I started into the introductory certification. And then from there, it was just, I actually took the test up in Vancouver, BC for the intro. And at that time, they would do intro and certified within days of each other, like 1 day, 2 day, so that the people who did very well in the intro could just jump right into the certified. So that's what happened, is that I did very well in my intro. They invited me to take my certified, so I took my certified there. And then at this point, I was really, I was kind of naive, because I was just like, my plan was to be a master sommelier in 5 years, which in retrospect is wild. I'm like, I cannot believe that I thought that, but academically, I was invited to take my master exam at 4 years. And so on paper, I could have legitimately become a master sommelier just because I test very, very well. I mean,
Why
I'm
not?
Asian,
Yeah.
so, like my parents, that they've ingrained that in me. So I test very well. But the thing is that I didn't want the imposter syndrome. I'm like, I don't want to have that pin, but I've never run a program. I've never traveled. I've never done all these, I think, very, very crucial things to be a master sommelier. So I took some time off.
Well, sure. Are you planning on going back at some point? Or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm just actually, the deadline's coming up soon, so I need to put in my intent for sitting for my master theory this April
Exciting.
or next April. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I took a year off. It's because I've been working on the advanced. So I've gotten past theory once, failed blind tasting, which fair enough. I've always blind tasting's been my weakest always. I've always been better in theory. So, and to be honest,
Theory
I
is the
got I
basis.
got nervous. Nerves are the great question mark.
Yeah.
So, wow, but still, can you just kind of tell us, because I think a lot of people listening are like, quartermaster Psalms, what is this? Just how difficult that advanced test is? Because like, I know I'm impressed, but I'm guessing that someone listening would be like, okay, she passed a test.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the test format, I think nowadays is a little different. They've geared the advanced exam to be more like the master exam. So they've broken it up into 3 sections. Whereas for me, it took place over the course of 3 days or 2 days. But so there's 3 sections. It's your theory. So you have your question and answer, and a short answer and multiple choice questions that you pass. And then you have a service exam where you actively demonstrate your skills on the floor while being asked questions and service and decanting a bottle of wine, opening a bottle of champagne properly, putting down proper glassware for cocktails and things like that. And then the blind tasting. So the blind tasting is verbal in front of a panel of master sommeliers. And then you do 3 reds and 3 whites. And you have to get your analysis done
Very quickly.
in 24, just about 24 minutes.
Yeah.
So for
Four
six
minutes,
months.
10 seconds a glass. If you get nervous and confused, they don't give you any extra time. I know from
No.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there anything on your exam or any theory questions that like still stick with you? Super weird, oddball, like something that you're like, how or why did they ask?
Maybe not so much for my advanced exam. I think my advanced exam was very, very, I think, fair.
Hmm.
But I took the master theory in 2018, actually. One of the questions that they asked was, what was the last vintage that Gentas produced his Cote Rôtie? And I'm like, the answer was 2004. And I took the test in 2018, and I'm like, why would you include a question about this with a wine that probably 95% of us are never going to come across, because he stopped producing wine by that time, This is going to be a unicorn wine.
Well,
But, like,
yeah,
I
that
see it.
like a month ago there must have been some like story on Guild Som that had that in there. Like, it's like, okay, let's sneak this in, see if they're still learning.
Right, exactly.
No, I will never forget in my service. and they did it to everyone, and it threw us all off. When you would go to get your decanting table beverage, the second that you turned your back, I don't know how they did it. I'm guessing maybe they poured the beer under the table, but the guest chugged the beer, and just to see how you would react.
Hmm.
All of us afterwards, when we're talking about the service, we're like, did your master som chug his beer too? And they're like, yeah. What did you do? It's like, I offered him another one. What do you do in that situation? I wanted to take a moment to say thank you for listening to Serves You Right. If you have not, please hit that like button. It really does help us grow and helps us reach more people. If you haven't heard, in 2026, we are going to 2 episodes a week. That's every Tuesday and Thursday. Thanks for listening. Back to the show. It's like they're just trying to mess with you. Like, yeah. Any weird like non-wine tasting element to yours? Because they started incorporating like spirits wine
Yeah.
sometimes in the theory section.
Yeah, I mean, there was sake, and I mean, I think back in the day there's more aspects of like cigars and stuff like that. Not so much anymore. I don't feel like, but sake and spirits and cocktails and knowing the correct glassware for the cocktails and things like that. Yeah.
It's a little bit of everything.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
When you go out with like your friends and family, how does it feel to be the one who like knows about wine? I'm sure the one that they ask to give the recommendations or pick the bottles. Is it a lot of
It's
pressure?
fun. No, it's fun. I like it a lot. I like being able to pick, because it's just like the reason why I got into being a sommelier was because of the love of hospitality. So I feel like it's almost kind of like my love language. Me figuring out what type of wine you would love, what wine fits your personality is my love language to them. And when I find something that just opens them where they just have this aha moment, I mean that's so much fun. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. You seem to me, and it's the same way when I was talking to like Andrew, and the same way I kind of thought about myself when I did the job before I moved off to management. You seem to me to be the opposite of what someone might think of when they say sommelier. Like I feel like there's a picture, for better or worse, wine has an upper class pretentious air to it. And
Hmm.
I feel like there's a younger, more lively generation that still takes knowledge seriously but doesn't take wine seriously.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I remember reading somewhere that you talked about just not being pretentious when you serve. Like, can you just double click on that for us for a little bit? Like, yeah,
I mean, because I feel when I first got introduced into the idea of becoming a sommelier in that little hole in the wall Italian restaurant, I would look at the way that some people would treat wine, how they bring it in, and how exclusive it was. And I'm like, I like the aspect of taking that and bringing it to the masses, opening up that world a little bit. And I had told myself I want to make sure that I never lose that. I don't ever want to get to the point in wine where I start looking down at other people because of their wine choices. Now, yeah, I mean, of course you're going to build your preferences over the years and you're going to like understand things about certain wines and what category of wines, but again there are category of wine. There's wine for easy drinking, quaffable. There's wine for people who just want to enjoy a glass of wine and they're not necessarily being like, hey, I want to be wowed by this. I want to have a story told in my wine. There's occasions for different types of wine. There's occasion for big fruit bomb wines. There's occasion for incredibly complex wines, structured wines. So understanding that there is an audience for each of those categories, it's kind of brings that perspective of we're still in the same room together enjoying the same beverage.
yeah, and it's kind of a permissive attitude of like let the people drink what they want. There's none of that
Hmm.
snooty like that doesn't go with that. That like the finger wagging.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's more a matter of like, and especially I think when you have that attitude towards wine and wine consumption, then people become a lot more apt to hear you out when you're like, hey, like you like this, you like Napa Cab. Why don't you try this category instead? Let's segue into if you want to try something different. And when they realize that you're trying to expand their world of wine, not because you're judging them on their wine taste, but being like, if you like this, then then let's go out to these places. I think people are a lot more open to that because it becomes less about me being telling them what to do or looking down on them. It's more me going,
Yeah.
come on, you like this? I
Yes.
let me introduce you to some stuff, you know?
Yeah. One of my favorite dualities to play with, and I ask myself this a lot, are you being a scientist or a judge? I feel like, a scientist is investigating, trying to discover,
That's
whereas a judge
good.
is like, this is right, this is wrong, and you shall not pass.
Totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a good analogy.
How tell me about how you ended up at Carbone. So it's a big change from Seattle. I think you went through California, if I remember correctly,
Hmm.
first. Yeah.
I did. Yeah, I
So
went
just
through California.
continually going hotter and drier, I think. Yes.
Exactly, exactly. Just like all along the West Coast. That's West Coast.
Yeah.
Actually came by incident. I the opportunity came up. Actually, my ex at the time, he had worked at a Carbone in Hong Kong, and he was moving to Las Vegas, and then he was trying to get me over to Las Vegas as well. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to live in Las Vegas. And then that opportunity had come up. And at that time, I was out of restaurants completely. I was in wine sales. And it was a struggle because it was during COVID. And I don't think
Oh, that's
the
rough for
market
wine sales.
really
Yeah.
I don't think the market in Orange County where I was living really recovered for a while. I think it's doing better now, but at that point it was such a struggle for me to really start building something for myself. And so when the opportunity came up for part-time position at Carbone, I'm like, why am I fighting this? It's a great opportunity to just be in a brand new market, do something new with my life. I mean, as far as like the financial aspect,
Not really.
Carbone's
Yeah.
probably one of the best. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what is it like to work and live in Las Vegas? Just curious. It's you just wonder.
Is great, actually. I mean, there's pros and cons, obviously. I mean, the heat during the summertime can be pretty intense. Produce, like shopping for food and stuff like that, it could
Sure.
be a little challenging.
Everything
You're
wilts
out
on
in
the
the
way
middle
to
of the
the
desert.
car.
Yeah, and then with seafood and stuff like that, I'm like, I miss the Pacific Northwest. Um, as far as living here, it's great. And I think it's funny because Vegas is such a hub. It's a global hub. Everyone comes to Vegas at some point. And so I actually see a lot of my friends more often living in Vegas than I did in LA and Orange County.
Yeah, they're flying
Definitely in
there
Seattle.
anyways, so might as well give you a
Yeah,
call.
exactly.
Yeah, no, that's
So I
cool.
get to see people a lot more often. So it's much more social, and it's nice that there's a little bit of everything. There's the whole nightlife on the strip, off the strip, but then Las Vegas is expanding so much. There's really some really great neighborhoods off the strip that yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just curious. Sorry to kind of derail us on Las Vegas there.
No,
Going back to Carbone, I am curious. So, what does your job look like? Like, what is your typical week? Like, what do you do when you are at work? Yeah.
what's so funny is that when I was young into my wine career, I thought my trajectory was to become a corporate beverage director. And then as I was going down that road, I'm like, I don't like corporate. I don't want to work 12, 13 hours a day, 5, 6, 7 days a week. This is not, I don't want to work to live or live to work.
Hmm. Be so
Anyways,
busy that you forget which way it is. Yeah, I got you.
exactly. Exactly. And so I got out of the business and I really kind of had to redefine my idea of what success like in my life. And I'm like, success to me looks like being available for my loved ones and being able to live and travel and do those things and not be like, oh, I'm stuck at work. So I'm like, okay, now I know what my idea of success is. And so it's funny because when I talk to people about working at a place like Carbone who haven't worked in a union environment or in Las Vegas, it's hard for them to grasp that idea. I'm like, okay, I know that a lot of us work towards having autonomy in a restaurant where you get to run the list and you get to bring in all these cool wines and you get to put wine director or head som behind your name and things like that. And that's not what Carbone is. You are still part of a hotel restaurant. And so you are kind of relegated. You can bring in some certain things, but the majority of the list is already brought in by the beverage director, which we have an amazing one, Douglas Kim, who's a Master Sommelier as well. But, you know, these wines are brought in by him. And I don't have any managerial responsibilities. I
That's
don't work. I don't work 10, 12, 13 hours a day. I work 6 to 7 hours a day, 5 days a week, and I have a mandatory 2 days off. And I have benefits.
Well, that's great. I
So
mean,
I'm
yeah.
like,
It's like, are they
yeah.
hiring too? No. Yeah.
And the money's great. It's we get tipped very every night. And yeah, so like as far as like a resume builder in the sense of the title that I have, not really, but as far as like the quality of life I've been afforded, yeah, it's
And,
been great.
paradoxically, the kind of job that you might want when you're studying for a Master Somm diploma.
Yes.
You don't want that
Yes.
50 to 60 hour take home some work job that you've kind of grinded your whole life to get to, because when are you going
Hmm.
to study? Yeah. When are you going to taste?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like what I do have to say, I mean, I've worked with amazing psalm teams, and I think that we've all been very, very collaborative at all of our places. But now that I'm at a place where all of us are very mature sommeliers, we've been in the business for a while, and also Carbone or and Vegas is just its own animal as far as
I'm
wine
sure.
service is concerned. It's a very collaborative effort on the floor, and we work so intuitively with each other. It's very fulfilling. The being part of that psalm team is very, very fulfilling.
Hmm. But I mean, that's interesting. And that is part of the reason I wanted to ask. You're not like spending the daytime putting together the list. You're not editing. Do you have to do any like inventory ish things or?
We do.
Oh,
And
of
I
course.
do
Yeah.
edit. I still edit the wine list.
Of course.
I still edit the wine
I
list
was
because I'm
hoping that
like,
someone
you
somewhere
guys.
got away from that, but I guess not. No one ever is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. I still edit the wine list, but everything, yeah, is done within the confines of your work hours. You're not union. You're not allowed to work outside of your work hours. So it's a matter of, which can be prohibitive in some senses, but other ways it's a little bit freeing because you're just like,
Yeah. Those are
this
the
is
rules. Yeah.
this is my workload. We definitely work with, private dining as far as acquiring wine for large parties and, doing inventory. We do like a quarter, I guess quarterly, probably 1.5 months. We do an inventory of our wine, and that's pretty straightforward. We've kind of got it down to a quick.
Team effort sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like probably it gets done in probably over the course of like maybe 4 or 5 hours. So
That's not bad at all. That's not bad at all.
no.
Yeah. Especially, yeah, I've dealt with some nightmare scenarios. I worked with one at one place where we had to do total physical inventory every night. It was like a really eye on the
Wow.
ball owner. I won't say where. If someone's listening and knows in Santa Fe, they know. But it was a weird thing, but it was something where like it was me and one other main bartender, and you get good at it. Like we had
Hmm.
systems. And it's like, well, if the wine bottle over here is not touched on this shelf, that means we haven't started pulling. So all those numbers are good. Like little signs to know that, okay, we can do this in like 30 minutes. We'll be good.
Right.
Yeah, no one's ever going to get away from counting bottles.
Yeah, no. You got to do your time though. That's the thing is like I think a lot of people, like a lot of budding sommeliers, they see the glamorous aspect, right? The whining and dining, the hospitality, sitting there being in front of the guests, building your VIPs and things like that. And they like that. But it's just like, no, you got to do the grind. Come on. You got
Yeah,
to do some cellar maintenance, cellar work, inventory,
yeah.
list maintenance.
In all honesty, anyone who's listening, if you are looking to get into this job, it's one of the easiest ways to sneak your foot in. That's how I got into the
Mhm.
bar. It's like, I'm free and I'll help you count things. It's like, okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Because it's a job no one wants. But if you're there, you can ask questions. You can start learning what you
Exactly.
have and all sorts of things. Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, with any kind of job, people are going to be more willing to mentor someone who takes the initiative and has that drive. When I was at Spago in Beverly Hills, we had made the decision because we were looking to expand our wine team. It was me and Philip Dunn who had run that program. And when we decided that we wanted to bring on a fourth sommelier, we interviewed a number of people who were advanced sommeliers, certified sommeliers. Not a knock to any of them. They were great sommeliers and stuff like that. But we were like, we need somebody who is willing to do the grunt work. Because the thing is that it's like as a fourth sommelier, kind of, your bottom of the totem pole. You got to work your way up.
Until
And
someone
once someone who's
leaves.
an advanced sommelier, yeah, they're looking to be like in a little bit more of an elevated position. So we're like, okay, like if we're doing that, then we need to stop looking at someone's actual resume qualifications and then look at personality.
Hmm.
What kind of personality do they have? Are they willing to do this stuff? Are they willing to pick these things up? Do they have initiative? And that's how we found our fourth sommelier. And she's a fucking rock star. She's well, you probably know her. She's Christy Norman over at Delilah. And she's got her own platform, and she runs the United Sommelier Foundation. So it's just like, yeah, we saw that spark in her. We called her Spark Plug, actually.
She's going places.
And
This is gonna work out.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
cool.
so it's like, so yeah, it's like when you have that base personality to go after it, that's going to be more noticeable than someone being like, I've got this pin.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I've experienced the exact opposite. I hired a guy as a manager, and our management team, we put them all through serving training and then like each of the positions.
Hmm.
And he came back and he couldn't pass the food test. And not that he wasn't smart enough to, he clearly was. He got in his advanced bid, he just didn't put the time in. And it was like, this isn't going to work out. Like, if you're not going to invest in us, we can't invest in you. We can't. Yeah.
Right.
So,
How long have you been, am I allowed to ask questions? Because I'm
sure. Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
all
Go
the
for it.
questions have been about me. Yeah, so what's a little bit of your background then? Because like
Sure.
you've talked about getting your advanced and stuff like that. So like, yeah, just having
Yeah.
a little bit more background.
Yeah, I'll give you the kind of the postal card version. So I grew up in a small town in Texas, and there wasn't a lot to do, but I got a job as a dishwasher, waiter, and cook. And it was a small enough place. It was all at the same time, Smoking Joe's Bar and Grill. And I
Hmm.
loved it. And pretty much since then, I was about 14, 15 when I started, probably like right at that legal limit, but no one was really paying attention. I kept doing it, went to college and was serving on the side. My friends actually went out of town for the holiday season and I stayed because, again, I was from the middle of nowhere, Texas, nothing to do over the holiday like break. In the bar, a couple of the bartenders got super sick and I was just looking to pick up some extra cash. And so I told them that I would bar back, and then after that week or two that I was helping them, they told the restaurant, they're like, we're not going to give him back. He's staying with us. So I fell into bartending, really fell in love with it, started studying booze. Then I started studying wine. There's a really, really knowledgeable guy in Santa Fe, Mark Johnson. He's still there. And he was giving free wine classes, like preparatory intro som classes, just on the
Hmm.
side. And I showed up with one of my best friends and we just started studying and went and got our level one, and then formed a study group level two, and then fell in love with this girl and ended up moving to go take care of her parents. And then I'm here. So yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. It just, I've always been a big nerd. You can see a bunch of books back here, and there's a bunch more over here. And wine was a big enough subject that I could actually throw myself at it, and there's always more to learn.
Right.
And not even just wine, the whole world of spirits, cocktails.
Hmm.
I don't bartend actively anymore. I worked as a som at the restaurant that I work at for a while, and then I got promoted to general manager when the general manager was leaving. So that's what I'm doing. Omaha, Nebraska, steakhouse right in the middle of the country.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, well, I imagine being the general manager then it kind of divides your attention with the.
Oh yeah. My attention is shattered. I am going to take
Now you're a
off.
babysitter.
Yes, I am. So I made the decision this year that I'm not going to try next year for the advance. I'm going to see kind of what I think. Do I want to pursue that or do I want to drop it? And like maybe I will go for it. The same thing. You put a little break on it because
Hmm.
it's an expensive thing to try if you don't have your whole 100% to throw into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because even taking the advanced when I failed the blind, I mean, I was very happy that I gave it a shot, happy I got to that point. But between airfare, the actual test, the hotel, you're talking 3 or 4 grand, like easy.
Hmm.
Plus, that's not even counting on the wine. Like it's an expensive way to learn about yourself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But
I mean, I think it's great because nowadays, sorry for the interruption. I
no.
think that nowadays it's great to have your certification, and it certainly can boost boost your resume or boost your chances with certain things. Of course, I'm trying to go for my master certification just because I'm like, why not? I'm already, like I'm advanced. I might as well, go for that master pin.
It's right there.
It's right there. But as far as like your career trajectory is concerned, is the sommelier certification really that necessary? You kind of have to figure that out for yourself, because nowadays, with how jobs are evolving, especially after COVID, jobs are evolving so crazily into remote work and content creation and so on and so forth, kind of building your own path, that, there's people who are making it out there and doing what they love, and they don't have their certification.
Sure. Yeah. And that's been in the back of my mind. I will say, for all the like disappointment and all the money and all the complaining, I am very grateful that I did do it. And I could see myself going back into it. I think having a pursuit that is so difficult and consuming, having a discipline, having something that's forcing me to actually learn how to learn, like there's a lot of invaluable,
Yes.
just miscellaneous things that came along with it. Like having the
Yes.
experience of actually having something that I tried at, really tried, even if I didn't succeed, I don't know how I would have tried harder. Like that's something
Yeah,
you can't fake.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I do have to say that when I went for my master theory in 2018, I didn't feel ready. I had taken some time off and stuff like that. And the con of taking some time off is that it's hard to get that engine getting back up again. Whereas if you just kind of start going in a row, you don't have that lull. So you're constantly learning and you're remembering things that you're learning along the way, right? You forget a lot of things in that little lull. But I do have to say that I'm so glad that went to that test. I have zero regrets to going to that test, because you get thrown back into that world and you are in a room with all these other people that are so hungry. They're so passionate and stuff like that, and it's contagious. And so if you find yourself at a lull and you're like, do I really want to be doing this anymore? I don't know what I want to do. Go and take the test,
Just try it again. Yeah.
because just try it again, get back into that atmosphere, because being around that energy and that passion, people who are like-minded, will totally fire you back up again.
Hmm.
It really will.
Yeah. And, I always remind myself that if you've run into someone who's never failed at something, you've run into someone who's never really tried something. Like you've got to put yourself out there, and every once in a while you'll bruise yourself, break a bone, and you just got to go for it. Take the
Yeah.
dive. Speaking of, because I want to make sure I ask you about this before we're done today. In poor taste, how did that end up happening? And what was that like?
I'm kind of the same way how Andrew reached out to me, actually, is through, they slid into my DMs.
Oh, sure, sure, yeah. So for the listener at home, what is in poor taste? And like,
So yeah, I mean, I get a number of requests via Instagram, which I'm terrible with social media. I don't really check all that often, and then I'll be like, oh, crap, well, I already had this. I had this thing a long time ago. But anyways, I had seen this request come through for import taste, and I would have usually ignored it. But we had already been circulating a couple of their clips in our Somm chat, because we're like, oh my god, this is hilarious. It was one of them with one of the Australian winemakers talking about orange wine and stuff like that, and then one of their skits that they had about a sommelier that just, what was it, like not listening to what you're saying, or turning everything that you are asking for into another question or something like that. But they had this
yeah,
this really hilarious skit.
they have a lot. Yeah.
So yeah, so I was just like, oh, so I was already familiar. So I'm like, okay, so this is already a legitimate ask. Like they're actually legitimately asking for me to join in on this. So they had messaged me and they were like, hey, like we have this comedy show that we're bringing to Las Vegas, and we need a wine expert for the panel. We would love for you to join and come and see a show so that you kind of have a better idea of how it is. And if you're interested, let's jump on a call and see if this is a good fit. So I did. So I got on a call with Sweeney and Ethan, who are the founding comedians for this for Import Taste, and I love them. They are just amazing, amazing humans, and I just love the fact that now I have this great connection with people who are halfway around the world or on the other side of the world. But yeah, so I committed to doing a show a week, and that was a completely new experience for me, just because You don't think that it would be different, but it's just like once you add that comedic element and people that kind of improv into wine education, you kind of have to think faster on your feet. And for me, also too, I think I naturally just balance out whatever energies in the crowd. So if someone's being extra humorous, then I become more serious. And it's like, no, you kind of have to break out of that. You kind of have to sit there and kind of up the ante too,
Yes. Not an
And so yeah,
equilibrium.
it's
This is a
been
mirror. Yeah. You gotta.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
So from what I could see in like clips, people are like asking questions sort of like throughout the whole, so it's just like you don't know what you're going into. It's wild, unscripted.
I mean, there is a little bit of a script. You kind of have to have a script just to kind of keep the structure of the show going. And there's not a Q and A throughout the whole show. There's a Q and A specifically for whoever's on the wine expert side. I say wine expert because I'm just like I don't want it's such a dry term. Anyways, so there's a specific section for the Q and A, but throughout the show, the two comedians are interacting with the crowd and bringing the crowd in. So then they'll kind of bring you in and be like, okay, what's your take on this? But as far as like the questions are concerned and stuff like that, it's like all within your wheelhouse, and you get a little bit of a prep. Like they're like, hey, we're going to be asking this question. We're going to be asking this question. So kind of have an answer in queue. So it's not those questions the comedians are asking and stuff like that are not completely out of left field. But yeah, the audience, once they go to the Q&A, yeah, whatever the audience asks
That's
is
just wild.
definitely,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, well, I guess, in terms of crossover, it's not like you worked in an office. Like, that's one of the good things about service. You also never know
Yes.
what you're going to get served. And it helps if you can think on your feet because you get asked some interesting questions sometimes.
Yeah. And I mean, in Vegas, it's like anything goes. It really is anything goes.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't even have the added benefit of having like a largely regular crowd, I'm assuming. It's probably, I'm sure you have
we
some
actually,
regulars, but yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it is a lot of tourists and stuff like that. But the great thing is that because it's such a hub, my regulars come from all over the world.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I actually get a good number of regulars, like monthly regulars or, like
Yeah.
quarterly regulars
John that
from
comes
around.
in once every 3 months, he's here again, sort of thing.
Hmm.
That's cool. That's
Yeah,
weird.
so
That's wild.
yeah, yeah. And it's a cool, interesting mix of people who, like your regular crowd who, want a reasonably priced bottle of wine and things like that. And then you have those people who are just like, I want to.
Bring out the crystal. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, like I really want to just throw my dick on the table, like
Yes.
okay, like or and there's other ones who really they want you to kind of boss them around. They want you to be like,
You,
are you really like, is that it? Is that it? They really want someone to goad them. So it's
yeah,
interesting
there
because I
always be
come from
that.
a background of much more like fine dining focus, proper service, Michelin driving towards that Michelin star, whatever, related chateau style dining and or service. And then now at Carbone, it's kind of irreverent.
Mm,
Actually, I shouldn't say kind of, it's irreverent.
mhm.
And so it is fun because then I really get a chance to bring my personality into it and adapt to each table and stuff like that.
It's the casual and casual fine dining, It's,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly, for sure.
For the listener at home, if they would like to find out some more about what you do or the restaurant, is there anywhere online that they should follow you or?
So this coming year is I'm like, okay, I really need to, I dread content creation, but I'm like, okay, I really need to do it because I really love to get great, accessible wine education out there. So on my social media page it's called Tequila Neat, tequila_neat is my Instagram page,
Great name. Jealous. Yes.
which I'm like, should I change it because like I'm trying to be a smart. I'm like, no, I think it's kind of fun, just kind of cheeky because it's just like, yeah, I don't drink just wine, but I will be doing a lot more wine education, and things like that on there. Wine
That's
wine focused.
awesome. Well, I'll definitely include a link to that in the show notes. I was also planning on doing a link to Carbone and the Quartermaster Psalms for anyone listening that wasn't familiar. I
Yeah.
do have to say your story the other day of us. Stop saying I wish, say I will. And the response was
Hmm.
I will. I had a glass of or like yeah,
I
I
will.
had
I
a
had a
margarita.
margarita.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah, I didn't mean to bring that up, but it just that tickled me. I saw that. I was like, that's awesome. So yeah, definitely. go and follow Tequila Neat. Get some gems like that. But yeah.
Thank you.
Rina, thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your day to come talk to us about what you do and inspire us to do something more, something cool.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for reaching out. And yeah, that was great. This was fun.
Awesome. It was a pleasure.
Bye.
Thank you again for listening to Serves You Right. Episodes of this show come out every Tuesday and Thursday. If you have not had a chance, please go and check out the website, servesyouRightPod.com. You can find all past episodes and a contact form in case you need to get in touch with me. And soon, so much more. All right, that's about it. Thank you.